Alright, so printing movies temporarily, we just use print, then use the sorted method and add the movies um, in its own bracket. So sorted movies, print movies like so. Let me close this back. So now the movies have been sorted. So the next thing that we should be looking at, okay, we don't is how to print sort reversely, right? So there's a method called reverse, right? So when you want to print something, or when you want to print out your list in the reverse form, so you start to use sorted. Now this time around you just use what? Reverse. So here I'll have what? Movies dot reverse. So you can see reverse here, and when I print what? Movies, we have what we have here. So you can see here that what? It has been reversed. Okay, the list has been reversed, but now it does not sort the list before reversing. That's one thing you need to know. So the reverse method does not sort the list first before reversing the list. So when you want to do the one that you sort it, all right, and now reverse it, what you have to do is what? You can say movies dot what? Sort. All right, this time around you now add the keyword reverse. Do you see that? Reverse equals to what? So it's a boolean operation. All right, you can see the bool is a boolean operation. Boolean operations either returns what? True or false. So by default is on false. All right, so that's why you have the false here. By default is on false. So changing it to true does what? Print um let me even print.
Please, can you come back?
Okay. All right, so I said if you want to print out a list that has been arranged in the reversed order, now that have been sorted first from alphabetically, and you want to print out the list from Z to A, let's say Z to A. Remember I used the reverse before, and the reverse did not print from Z to A, so it just brought out Fast 9 first, then followed by Iron Man, followed by what's Dune, and then let me this is it here. So look at the list. When we did the first reverse, all right, this was our list, which is exactly what we have here, right? Then we now use list dot what movies dot what reverse. So movies dot reverse just what brought Fast 9 first, followed by what Iron Man, followed by what Avengers, then put Dune as the last. But what we want to achieve is that we want to like allow it to make it to be sorted first. After sorting the list, we now reverse it. So in that case, you can now what use movies dot sort again, but this time around put in what a parameter reverse and what add what true to it. So in that way, let me print out. I'm going to print out when it's sorted first. So I'm going to use a temporary sort. So we have sorted, okay, movies, so that I'll for print the original movie, which is the original list. After printing the original list, we'll print the list as it is sorted temporarily. Remember, this is not a method that is just used here, it's just a print statement, okay? And next, it will now print what? The value of our movies, which is after it has what? Passed through this phase. So when I run this code, you can see here we have what? Dune, Avengers, Iron Man, Fast 9, which is our original list. Then the next print statement says prints it when it is sorted. So when this thing was temporarily sorted, we have what Avengers first. Then that tells you that after it has been reversed, the sorted has been reversed. We have what Iron Man, Fast 9, June, and Avengers. Now, if I should remove, just so that you can really understand, if I should remove this print statement, you find out that the answer is still going to be what? Of this last print statement, is still going to be what? Iron Man, Fast 9, June, and Avengers. Let me bring this up a bit. So you can see, we still have the same thing here Iron Man, Fast 9, June, and Avengers. So, that's it about um manipulating a list. Then you can also check the number of items in a list, right? And you do that by using the len. So I can print len, right? So len, so to print the length of the list. So they use the length function. So length what counts the amount of objects in a list. Let me remove this one. So by the time I print this, you see what the length is what 4, because we have what 4 items on this list. So it's order for you to avoid index errors when working with lists, because when you put items in a list, let me say you put an index number that does not exist. For example, we wanted to print out movies, all right, and when you print an index number of, let's say, 1. Remember, if you want to print June, you just what type in the index 0 and June. So what if I put 5 inside here? What's going to happen? It's going to give me an index error. You can see what it's saying, what index error, list index out of what range. So which means this index 5 is not part of what the list. That's just a take up. So we're going to be doing more on that list, but this time around I'm going to explain it using what the for loop. Okay, we're looking at loops now, right? So the for loop. So the for loop actually helps you to what go through every item in a list. Alright, so for example, now if I wanted to list out all the items in this particular list, I'm going to use what the for loop. So I can say for, let's say, movie. Note is not, there's no s. Okay, there's no s in movies. All right, I'm going to put a colon. Now every other thing that's supposed to come under this for loop must be what indented. That's called indentation, so that Python knows that everything is under this for loop. So anything that is indented, Python interprets it as what under the for loop, such that when I click on this list, it can close. So every item inside a for loop can be what dropped down. So for item in movies, for movie in movies, right, I can use any variable here. I can use I can use n, I can use k, x, whatever variable I want to use, I can use it here. All right, so what is going to happen? Look at the print statement now. I'm supposed to print movie, not movies. For now, what happened was that it printed what movies. Since my print statement said what print what movies, so it printed what the value of what movies for what movie. So for movie, which movie is a movie? We have Dune 1, we have Avengers 2, Iron Man 3, Fast 9 4. So at every point when Python comes to the first item, it was print what movies. Goes to the next item, print movies again. The third item, print what movies the third time. When it gets to the fourth item, it was print movies again. So what if I wanted to print the item? Instead, I put one movie, and when I run my print statement, you see I should list out all the items. You can see June, Iron Man, June Avengers, Iron Man, and what Fast 9. All right, so you can also customize your um, print statement here. Let's say I can use the f string here and now say, let's assume I've watched every movie inside this list. So I'll say watch. So watch the movies I've watched, right? So for item in what, in watched movies, okay, print what, I have watched this, I've watched what movie, okay. So this time around I'll put it in square brackets and close my quotes. So what it's going to print now is that it's going to print I have watched what, June, I have watched Avengers, I have watched what, Iron Man, I have watched Fast 9. So let me print that to show you. So you can see this. I have watched what, June, I have watched what, Avengers, I have watched Iron Man, I have watched what, Fast 9. So that's how to use the f string with the for loop. Alright. Then under the for loop, right, after Python have exited this for loop, you can actually do something else under your code. So you can add to the movies, you can append to your movie. I can say watched movies dot what, append, and add what movie again can I say I've watched. I've watched Heroes. Okay, so next I can now say or print watched movies. So what will happen here is that after Python have completed everything under the for loop, it will jumps down to what, the next line of code, right, and performs whatever action is supposed to perform, which is what appended what, heroes. So now heroes is what, part of my what, list. So there's when using the for loop, you must avoid indentation error. All right. For example, you can see that here there are how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So if assuming I did this, all right, Python doesn't understand because my settings here, my indentation will be set to what, 4 lines. All right, let me erase this. So once I do this, let's see if my code will run. So it works, right? But if I should remove the space that is there, there's no more indentation, and Python is going to give me an error. So the error says what, print indentation what, error expected what, an indented block after what, the for statements. Do you see? So whatever is coming after your for statements, you must what, put an indentation. Indentation can be, you can use your tab to just press it immediately, or you can use your space bar to just add it, right? You can use one space, single space, the double space, triple space, four space, five space, whatever what you want to do. And if I put 10 space safe, look at what happens, it still works, right? So the most important thing is just for you to indent. Another thing you should also make sure you put is what, the colon. So if I should remove this colon here, you see Python is going to give me an error, and told you, look, I see what, syntax error expected what, colon. Do you see, at what, for movies in what, watched movies. So colon is supposed to be at this point. All right. So even if you wanted to add an additional line, all right, to this code, so if you wanted to add an additional line under the um mm, for the inside the for loop, right? Let's assume you wanted this part. All right, you wanted my code. I wanted my code to was print I have watched uh, June. All right, and print what, all the list of movies again. So what I'll just do is that if I should do like this, it's not going to treat it like that. But if I should put this in the same indentation block, right, like this, what is going to happen is that Python is for every item in this list. Python is going to do what? Print I have watched Dune and print out everything under the movies plus heroes. Come back again. I've watched Dune. Print everything under the list plus heroes. So let's do that again and see. Okay, I've not added my colon back. Do you see that? it's still it's still running, So it's almost like I have an infinity loop. Why do I have an infinity loop? Because because of this watch movies dot append heroes. So that's why I'm having an infinity loop. So it's just going to keep on appending heroes, heroes, heroes. That's why let me end it first. Let me end this. That's why you're seeing heroes, heroes. So it's going to keep on appending what? Heroes for almost forever because of my append. So let me remove this append so you can understand the example better. So for after it prints what I have watched this, it's going to print what I have. It's going to print what the list of watched movie. Then print again. I have watched Avengers. Print the list of what watched movies. So when I print this again, you can now see I have watched what June. Now print the list of watched movies. Print of what I have watched Avengers. Print the list of what watched movies. Print what I have watched Iron Man. Print the list of what watched movies. I have watched what Fast 9 and print the list of what watched movies. Alright, and you must try not to indent unnecessarily. Alright, for example, let's assume I wanted this last print statement to come on its own. Alright, we can see it came afterwards after the for loop has been completed. So if I by mistake now come and indent here, what is going to, it has automatically what changed my code. Did you see that? It automatically was changed my code. So it does not matter the amount of space that is here. If like let there be 1000 lines of space here. Once I print my statement, my program again, it has changed my program. Automatically altered my program. Meanwhile, in the real sense, I wanted this what print statement what stand alone and arrive at this particular answer. So I've talked about forgetting colons. So we can actually still talking about the for loop. Okay, we can actually use the for loop to print a range of numbers. All right, using the range function. Now this is how that works. I can say for, let's say I want to print out 1 to 5 as list of numbers. Now I can say for number in range. All right, now this actually supports two values. Okay, the start number and the end number. So let me say print for this in range 5, and don't forget you must put your colon after your for loop. Print number. Let me put it in. Alright, so when I run this code, you can see it printed what did it print for me from what 0 to what 4. It did not what print 5 because it's printing from a range of what 5 numbers, and 0 is the first number, right? So we have 0 to what 4, which is equal to what 5 numbers. Alright, so what if I wanted you to start from 1. So what I will do is that I'll come here and add 1 comma 5. So what is going to happen is that the number is going to start from, Python is going to start counting from 1 and end at what 5 minus 1. Let's print that so you see it. So you can see it started from 1 and ended at what 5 minus 1, which is what 4. So it does not what ends at the particular item that you put here. This is just like A. For those of us that did maths in school, then A, and this will B minus 1. That is the formula for this range function. All right, so we can also do increments. Okay, let's say I wanted to print a list of what even numbers, so I can say start from 1. All right, and I want to print out all the even numbers in within 1 to what 20. So because I wanted 20 is also already an even number, so instead I'll add what 21, add 1 to it, so that 20 can be part of my what even numbers. So when I print this, I have this first list that counted what from 1 to what 20 to 20. So since I wanted to print even number, the increment should be what 2. All right, that is the increment. The last item there is what how many steps you should go forward. So after I count 1, you should go 2 steps forward. So if I do this, all right, oops, I'm supposed to start from 0, right, and I print this. So I'll have what 2 4 0 2 4 6 8 10. So if I don't want 0 to appear, I will start from what 2, right, for my 2 steps even number. So it's going to start from what 2 4 6 8 10 12 14 16 18 and what 20. So that's how you can use range again, and that's how to apply the step. So we can create almost any set of numbers that we want using the word range function. So let's say we're looking at how we can, or how we might make a list of the first 10 square numbers. That's the square of each integer from 1 to 10. So in Python we can use 2 asterisks as the exponential um, as exponent, like raised to power in normal maths. So we wanted to like do the square of 1, print out the square of 1, print out the square of 2, print out the square of 3, print out the square of what 4, print out the square of 5, and the rest. So I can come here now and say that and just say um let me make let me put this here. I can now say square, so you can define a variable inside what Python. So I'm going to define the variable inside the for loop rather, and say value what raised to power what 2. Okay, I'm going to remove the step. I want to do from 1 to 10, so the number that should be here is what 11, right, and our start number is what 1. I don't want to have 0 in my list. Then the next thing I'm going to what create an empty list. So you can create an empty list, right? The empty list should be squares. All right, so to do an empty list you just need to put this inside. All right, just put the square brackets and don't add anything inside. So now we want to add the values of what every result we have here into this list. I will now do what squares dot append what square. Does that make sense? Then I'll come back later and what print the value of my new list that I created, which is what squares. Okay, so now what Python is going to do is that Python is going to come to this empty list first and store an empty list inside this variable. Then come to the for loop and look at the what range from 1 to what 11, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, right? Now after knowing that, let me this is not supposed to be value, this is supposed to be number, because I was there saying value in this. All right, so it's supposed to be number because this is what we're working with for this number now. So for every number inside what this range from 1 to 10, Python is going to what square it and what store it as a value of what square. So after storing it as a value of square, you are now going to what add that value of square to what this list. So it's going to be what you are going to append that value what to this list. So once I do that, you'll see that this new list now contains what 1 raised to the power 2 is what 1, 2 raised to the power 2 is what 4, 4 raised to the power 2 is what 8, and like so until it gets to 10. So once I run this code, you see that it has what 1400. So I can actually print the number. Okay, I can print so that you see it square. Now not squares, I want to print this particular square, so we're seeing the number as is going to be adding to the list. So once I do this, you see that I can also print squares here too. Okay, so now when I print this, you see what, let me go to the top first. It's what, first of all, what prints the value of square. The first value of square is what 1, right? There is supposed to add what 1 to the list, to this list squares. So when it prints out squares, it has what 1 inside the list. So the next value of what square is what 2 is what 4, right? Because that's 2 raised to the power 2. Let me even add print so we can see it very well. Print number, so that we see the number that it is before the number is now squared and becomes square. All right, then before that squared number is added to the list. So if I run this, let me go to the first answer. The first number print statement prints what number. The first item is what square is 1, which is 1. So after 1 is squared, 1 raised to the power 2 is what 1. We have what 1 here. Then when 1 is added to what the list, this squares list, we have what 1 in the list. The next value is what 2. After 2 is squared, we have 4. After 4 is added to the list, we now have what 1 comma 4. The next one is 3. After 3 is squared, we have what 9, and after 9 is added to the list, we now have what 149. So like so until we got to the last number, which is what 100. We now have what 149, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. And the last thing we did was to still print what the was squares again. So that is exactly another way to use what the for loop. So let's assume we had a list, and the list is what full of digits, right? Numbers this time around, instead of strings. Let me make this. I didn't tell you how to use comments in Python. If you want to add comments to your code, right? A comment so that everybody that is reading your code understand what you did in that point. You can just say, I use a hashtag, and I can just write here after the hashtag, like using range in a for loop. Alright, so for me to stop using everything here, I can do this. So I add 5 quotes and come down. Now everything I write is going to be a string. It's going to be a comment. So instead I put 5 quotes here because I want it to stop there. Alright. So now this one is now back to my normal code. Alright. So let's assume we wanted to create a list of numbers. So let's say digits. Alright, and the list of numbers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, we have the list of digits here, and we can also use find out the what minimum digits in this list. Alright, and we can also find out what the maximum digits. I don't know, I think I should even maybe arrange these numbers, mix up the numbers. Right, let me mix up the numbers so that one number is not arranged accordingly. So let me use this. All right, so this is a mix up of what some digits now. All right, so I can now print the minimum digit. For me to print the minimum digit, I can say print what minimum digit. Right, and when I print this, I can if I want to print the maximum, I can also say print maximum digits. Alright, to print the maximum number of digits. Okay, and that is going to give us what 0, and the maximum number here is what 9. You see that I can also add everything together by saying print sum digits. Alright, so once I print this, it's going to print the sum of all of them. You can see that. So it printed what the sum all together. So let's go back to having strings inside our list, right, and see how we can this same thing we did for range, having the start point, increment, and what the last point and the increment. We can also do that with what um, strings. All right, when strings are forming the list. All right, let me move this to this point so that those codes don't run. So I can say, let's say we have a list of players. All right, and we have this as our list. Let me erase the former one. Okay, so we have Charles, Martina, Michael, Florence, and Eli as all our players. Okay, so what if we wanted to print only 3 players? What do we do? I can actually say print players. Alright, now this time around, because I want to print only 3 players, I'm going to use my square brackets, not a normal bracket at the same in this case. Okay, square brackets, and put my starting point. I want to print Charles, Martina, and what Michael. Put my starting point. Alright, remember then when we wanted to print an item in a list, we'll just put only the index number there, so we can actually print more than one item. So if we print more than one item, to print more than one item, you put what comma and put the what. If I leave it like this, okay, what's going to happen? It's going to print out the an error that says what is expecting another what argument. So you can say list indices must be integers and not what slices. So in this, actually you don't use comma. All right, this time around you use what colons. Okay, you don't use comma for this. Remember, in this one we're using what comma here, right? When using the normal bracket. So if I do this, it's going to print the entire list. So you can see it printed the entire list, because Python automatically, when after seeing a colon and you don't put another argument here, Python automatically assumes that you want to print from this point to the end of the list. So I wanted to print from this point to the end of the list. Let's say from Michael to the end of the list. Michael is what index number 2. So once I do this, it must print what Michael, Florence, and what Eli. So what I wanted to print from Charles, which is 0, and stop at what Florence. So we have what I can either use what -1 here, remember, or I use what 3. So if I put minus 1 there, what happens? Did you stop at Florence? If I put 3 there, it also what? It doesn't, this time around, it doesn't stop at Florence, it stops at what? Michael. Because remember it's a minus 1. So if I wanted you to stop at Florence, um, I'm going to what? And I wanted to use a negative integer, right? The first time I used what? I had a minus 1 there, right? So it stopped at Florence. So um, if I wanted to use a positive integer, I have to use what? 4, right? So that, remember, this is what? N minus 1. This is A, this is B minus 1, right? So once I print this, it's going to what? Stop at what? Florence. So that's exactly how you use lists with printing more than one value of list. Alright, uh, we can also print from the beginning of a list self without adding 0 here. We can just do this and print our statement, and it's going to print from the beginning of the list. Alright, we can also have increments. Okay, let's assume we want to start from Martina and skip Michael and go to Florence. Alright, so once I do this and I add an increment of 2, that's putting colon 2, what is it going to print for me? What? Martina and what? Florence. So after Martina, after it takes 2 steps, 1, 2, the next person is what? Florence. Assuming there was another person here, let's say Ben. Let me use small letter. Alright, and we have Charles. Okay, there's a Charles here already. We have Tunde. Okay, I'm going to add one more person's name and Ayo. Alright, so now printing this. Okay, printing 1:4:2. Let's see what we have. This time around, I want it to get to the end of the list. If we do this, what happens? Do you see? Because we did not put any arguments here, Python automatically assumes that we want to get to the end of the list. So it comes from Martina. The next 2 steps is what? Florence. The next 2 step is what? Ben. The next 2 step is what? Ayo. So did we get that? Do we understand that?
Yes.
All right. All right. So the next thing I'm going to show you is that we can copy a list. All right. We can copy items in a list. So we wanted to copy um, item in a list or a group of item in a list. Now let's assume we had players. These are a list of players of football. Now it's only not all of them are my players. Okay, if not all of them, since not all of them are my players, I cannot create a variable that says what? My players, all right, equals what? This time around, I'm now going to use this same item here. This is players. All right, and now choose where my player starts from, which is what? Martina. Let's say my players are what? Martina, Michael, and Florence. All right, I'll start from what? Index what? 1. Okay, and end where? Index what? Since this is where I want to stop, I add 1 to it, which is what? I'm going to stop at what? Li. Right, Li's index. Li's index is what? 4. So I'm going to put what? 4 there. So my players will now be what? Martina, Michael, and what? Florence. So by the time I now print my players, all right, I'm going to have what? Martina, Michael, and what? Florence as my result. So you can see that I have what? Martina, Michael, and Florence. So that's actually how to copy an item from a list into another list, or from a variable into another variable. That's just typically the same thing. So the next thing we're going to look at is tuples. All right, now remember we were able to add and remove items to lists. That's because lists are mutable. All right, they are mutable, which means they can be altered, they can be edited. All right, unlike tuples. Now tuples on their own are immutable, so you cannot edit the values or change the numbers of inside a tuple. All right, so let's assume we had I'm going to move this down. So this time around we're talking about tuples, right? So I'm going to put that in the comment. All right, so tuples are, remember a list are you use square brackets for lists. So tuples, now let's assume we want to assign them to digits. All right, so tuples are denoted by normal brackets. Okay, so let's assume we had a digit, two digits, let's say 200, and we had 50. So this is it, tuple. All right, so if I wanted to print different items in this tuple, okay, the same way you did for list, you're going to do that in tuple. I can say print what item are we looking at here? Let's say the zeroth number, the first index number, let's say digits. All right, and we're going to put the first index number, which is 0. So once I print this, you can see the first index number here is what, the value occupying the first index is what, 200. So that is the same way you work with what, tuples. All right, now what if you wanted to create a tuple, okay, that has only one value? All right, you want to create a tuple that has only one value. If I did this, okay, let me remove this argument here. If I did this, all right, digit equals to what, 200 alone. Do you see that print digits is printing as a particular digit, it's not printing as a tuple. Before we had if I printed digits now on its own, you see that it's going to print it as a tuple, putting it inside was brackets. So if I wanted to create a tuple with was just one digit, all right, if I should print this like this, it's going to print as a normal digit that I can add a value to and say digits plus 2. For example, now I can say digits plus 2, right? You see, the answer is what, 202. Do you see that? Meanwhile, in the real sense, you're not supposed to be able to do that. So if you want Python to recognize this as a tuple, you have to what, add a comma here, such that when I print this, it's going to what, print as a tuple having what, brackets. Okay, you can also use for loop. All right, you can also use the for loop in with tuples. All right, the same way you use it in your list, you can use for loop in tuples, but this time around you do not edit the tuple. So if we had this 200 comma we had 50, okay, I can now come here and say for digit, you can use any variable, remember, in digit. All right, I put my colon, print what, digit, not digits. Let me use another variable name so it doesn't confuse us. Item, let me say item. So I'm going to print what, item. So once I print this, you see that it just print out 250. Do you see? Printed out 200 and it printed what? 50. So for loops can be used with tuples. Now, last before we move to the next phase, which is going to be the if statement. That's what the last thing we're going to look at today, the if statement. After the if statement, that is when we'll now be going to dictionaries and functions, right? Because I'm seeing that we're already almost out of time. Okay, but we can deal with the if statements early. We'll go straight to dictionaries, and immediately after dictionaries, we'll move straight to functions. But we still have more loops. We'll do while loop before moving to functions. Okay, well, let's see how it goes. Let's talk about the if statement now. So the if statement now is used in so many applications. All right, I'm going to give you an example of the if statement. So we can use if statement is a condition. Remember, if this is inside here or if this is inside a list, all right, print. You can now tell Python to what, take an action. All right, let me use this as a case scenario. Let's assume I had a list of cars. All right, let me move this here. Okay, let me check my clipboard. All right, so let's say we had a list of cars now, and I wanted to go through the list of cars and check if a car is among this list of cars. And if the car is among the cars, all right, I'm going to make print that car in what, uppercase. Okay, if the car is not there, I'll print that car in title case, or I'll say okay, if the car is not there, that car or other car will be, all the other cars that is listed is going to be printed in what, title case. Now we're going through the list. Remember how the for loop works, right? It goes through every item inside the particular list to print them out, especially when you are printing those items out. Let me move this down. Okay, so we have that. Now when I run this code, okay, I think I indented too much. All right. All right, so I guess this should work now. Okay, so you see now, all right, in my results I have I had some indentation error there. See how indentation can give you a bug, so you have to be very careful when indenting. This else and if are supposed to be on the same under the same indentation, because after the if comes an else statement. All right, so you put if the you after the if you have what, your condition. Now when the condition is achieved or is met, you would have an action to be taken which will come under that if statement. So that action has to be indented under the what, if statement. Now if that if statement is not met at all right, there's supposed to be another action, right, which is the else statement. So you will now have another option. Now the else statement does not come with a condition. Take notes, the else statement does not have a condition. Unlike if has a condition, you put what the condition here before you put what your colon. But the else statement, you just do what, pull your colon and put what an action that should be taken. So when the loop for loop starts, okay, it goes through the every item list, which is Audi, and what prints out what the car. All right, so it checks if is car the same thing as what BMW. So we're on Audi first. Is it BMW? No. Since it's not BMW, it's not going to print what car this Audi in uppercase. It will come to the else statement and print it to work title case, which is what we have here. Then the next goes to the next item, which is BMW. So is BMW equals to the same thing as BMW? Yes. So it does what? Print it in what? Uppercase. Now it does not go to the what? Else block. Then it goes to the next item. Is Subaru the same as BMW? No. It skips this action. Goes to the else statement. Print what? Subaru dot what? Title, which you have here. Subaru in title case. And it does the same for what? Toyota. Oh, I'm seeing 250 here. Let me take them out. So they are supposed to come here. Oops, battery is really low already. Let me see how fast we can go. So that's that. So we can also um let me show you conditions, how to use conditions. There are different ways of using conditions. Okay, let me use my Python IDE to show you that how to use different conditions. So there are several conditions in Python since you can use for Boolean operations. Actually, my conditions most times are Boolean operations to check whether true or false. So for example, you can use greater than, less than, greater than or equal to. For example, 1 is less than 2. 1 is less than 2. We have what's true, you see. 2 is less than 4. We have what's true, right? 2 is 2 is less than 0. We have what? False. Now when you want to check if two things are equal, you can say 2 equals 3, 4. We have what? False. 2 equals 2. We have what? True. I want to do greater than or equal to. I can say 4 is greater than or equal to what? 2. I think we've done this before. True. 2 is less than or equal to what? 6. We have what? True. I can say 6 is less than or equal to what? 6. I have what? True. So those are how to use conditions. You can use not equal to. Not equal to can be written as the exclamation mark. For example, 3 is not equal to 5. You can see true, right? 5 is not equal to 5. Oops. 5 is not what? Equal to 5. We have false. So that's it. Oops, I just realized I'm sharing only this screen. So let me do it in my terminal here. Let me do it in my terminal here. I just realized that I'm presenting only my VS Code, so you didn't see that. So I was explaining something like 1 is greater than 1. Let me allow this to load. All right, so what is going to happen is I'm going to show you this. Let me reshare my screen. um, Let me represent my screen. So here I have present something else. Okay, now I guess we should be able to see my new screen. So you can see everything I typed there, right? Let me see if I can make it big. uh, where's my zoom? Okay, this one doesn't support zoom. All right, it doesn't support zooming. So I guess can we see what is written? Can we see the text?
Yes.
All right, great. So if you look at that, you'll find out that um, I put some comparisons there. One greater than one greater than two, one less than two, two less than four. You can see Python automatically what it gives me the response, the Boolean response, whether it is what true or false. So that's exactly how conditions work. Okay, so we'll be moving. Where's my Let's move back to our VS Code so we can continue on our if statements. Alright, so back to VS Code. Now we're going to be using um, our if statement for movies. Alright, so I'm going to use one example to complete plenty things about the if statement. Alright, so let's assume we had a list of movies. Okay, we have a list of movies, right? And we want to recommend movies for people of different ages. Okay, or would I say let me use vehicles, all right, as an example. Let me use vehicles, right? The last part I was training, I used movies. Let me use vehicles. So if I have a list of vehicles, all right, let's say, okay, I have them here already. So let's assume we have this list of vehicles, all right, and we're choosing vehicles for people of different ages. So I'm going to create a variable for them, their age. So let me just put 7 there as an example. So these are different vehicles. We also have bicycle inside. All right. We have tricycle. Okay. Then we have um, though it's still a tricycle, we have keke. All right. So now, and our conditions are, let me put it in comments as a comment. If the person if the person's age is less than 7 years, okay, 7 years and below, okay, we give them what? Tricycle. All right, then we have 8 to 14 years, right? We give them what? Bicycle. All right, we have 15 to uh, 20 years. Okay, we give them what? Keke. These are awards, so let's assume they are awards. Then every other person, we give them any any of the vehicles. All right, so now what we're going to print, okay, what if what we wanted to um, get any of all these outputs, okay, we're going to use the if statement. All right, let me delete the for so I don't complicate things. So I'm going to be using just the if and else here. All right, I want to remove the for loop. Now, so if age equals 7, all right, remember you put your colon. All right, I'm going to do what? Print ride. Let me use the string. Ride a what? Tricycle. This guy is here. All right, ride a tricycle, or else, okay, we'll say what? You can ride any vehicle. Put it in a quote because any is a Python keyword. All right, so that's that. Let me print this so you can see the results. So if the person's child's age is 7 years, you're going to print what? Ride a what? Tricycle. And we have this, okay. I'm supposed to have double equal to here. Remember, it's a condition. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to run this code again. So you can see it says what? Ride a tricycle. What if we want to remember our condition says age 7 and below. So if the age is what? Age 7 and below, less than or equal to 7. So let's assume our age is 5 here. All right, we'll do what? Print what? Ride a what? Tricycle. Now, what if the age was not equal to 7? What if the age was what? 10? Python is going to skip this condition that we have here, which is ride a tricycle, and go what? And go to the else statement and say you can ride any vehicle. You see now it says you can ride any vehicle. But then we have conditions that says so age to ride this, so age to ride this, so age to ride this, and everybody for other ages to write any of them. So this is where another statement comes, which is called the what? Elif statement. So it's called the elif. So elif also has a condition. So let's assume we had that for age 7 and below. Okay, we wanted to add another condition now. Remember we say for age 7 and below they should ride what? Tricycle. For age 8 to 14. All right, so if the person's age is what? Less than or equal to 14. All right, we put a colon. I will now say print ride a what? Bicycle. Right, So when I print this, I'm supposed to put age here. That's our argument, our condition. Alright, so print what? Ride a bicycle. And let me change the age here. Okay, there's no need for me to change it. So that I can see there, it says what? Ride a bicycle. So we can also add another elif statement for people ranging from the age of what? 15 to 20. I can say elif, right? Age what? Less than or equal to what? 20. Put my colon and now print ride a what? Keke. Okay. And every other person, remember we say age 50, every other person should what? Ride what? Any of the vehicles. So you can see here it says what? Ride a what? Bicycle. But that's because my age here has not changed. Let me change the age to what? 18. So if I change the age to what? 18, we're going to what? Ride what? Keke. You see that works. Our code works. So there's a way in Python you can collect input from individual. Just like if you want to, let me say you want to recommend movies for certain ages, the app will now ask you input your age. So according to your age, it will now what? Give you some recommendation. So I can see for me to collect input in Python, you use the input function. All right. So I'm going to remove this. So I can now say input. All right. Collect an input. All right. And Python treats everything that is inside an input to be string. So there's a way to convert a string to an integer. You can say age again. So you override the value of age equals what? Now Python look for age int age. All right, so Python will what? Convert the value of age to what? An integer. Now once I print this, now you can see Python is expecting me to put a value, which is my age. So my age is, let's say my age is 90 years. All right, once I click on enter, it says what? You can ride what? Any vehicle. Now sometimes in all those applications you will see enter your age there. So in Python we can add that. We now say enter your age. Okay, put colon. Now when I print it now, you say it says enter your age, right? So now if I now put my age, let's say 30. All right, so you can see there's no space bar after this age and colon. Although the code is going to work, it says what? We can ride any vehicle. So if I wanted space to be there, I'll just add the space here, which is a white space, and I print it now again. So you can see now there's space before I'm entering my age. So once I enter my age here, let's say I'm 4 years, it says what? Ride a what? Tricycle. So that is exactly how to use the if and elif statements in what? Python. Alright, so I think that's that about the if statements. So we've covered the if statement. So do we have any question before I give my assignments for us before we can go? Because we're supposed to do a project on this. The assignment is going to be a project on Python, and you're going to be using the if else statement. So do you have any questions before we call it a day?
Yeah, for me, for now, no question. But if it's possible to get the video to rewatch and go over it again, so that a lot of things are running through my head, and I don't want to forget them so quickly. So,
All right, I'll do my best. Okay, what will happen is that I'll try to send today's on too. Okay,
okay.
I'll try to
This
send.
particular one, Abi.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, this
Yeah.
own and to this own.
Okay, okay.
This
I'll do that.
Python specifically.
All right, no problem then.
Thank you.
Thank you.